So, the most important thing to know when you're designing your nurture campaign as part of your marketing efforts is to understand when is the right time to escalate or take the relationship to the next level. My name's Ken Kors. I'm a digital marketing expert. I'm a strategist. I've been a consultant for over 15 years, and I'm going to be joining you at the Lead Gen event at the Concourse LAX October 19th. I want to see you there, but today I want to give you a taste of what that experience is like. And if you want to see more like this, you can see those at leadgenevent.com, which is also where you sign up for the event. So let's look at the 4 phases that we're talking about when it comes to our marketing and our lead generation. We've got generate, we've got nurture, we've got convert, and we've got profit. So let's just break that down really quickly again. We've got to find new people. We've got to nurture them through a process or take them through a process where they start working with us more. You've got to convert those leads into sales. And then you got to make sure you're making profit on those sales. It's not enough to just go out and generate leads and make a bunch of sales if you're not making any money. And so at the event, I'm going to be your specialist that's talking about nurture. And what I want to do today when I'm talking about escalation, which I'm going to write that word down here, which is really taking our relationship to the next level. And so first and foremost, I want to share that there are really 3 core phases of marketing. I'm going to break this same thing down, but I'm going to talk about it in a different way because these 3 principles that I'm talking about actually happen at every point in this process. So part number 1 is interest. So let's talk about interest for a second. First of all, a lot of us try to manufacture interest as marketers. And the truth is you can't do that. The reality is your customers or your leads decide what's interesting. And so you, as a business owner, a product or service provider doing whatever it is that you do, have to know what's interesting to your customers. You can't make that up. Now there are times, and you'll hear about these things like viral campaigns or things that get shared a ton, but most of the time those are tapping into things that people already want. You really can't manufacture interest from scratch. In fact, there's really 3 things that people want, and I'm going to break this down a little bit more. So when I'm thinking about interest, I like to use these 3 principles: entertainment, controversy, and value. Now here's the fun thing about value. Most entrepreneurs I know or marketers that I know really try to go the value route overall. Now again, just like interest overall, I can't determine what is or what isn't valuable to clients. The truth is they decide what's valuable. So for me, when I'm developing offers or I'm creating marketing campaigns, I have to keep asking the question over and over and over. Does the customer really care about this? Is the value I'm providing to a problem that really matters to them overall? Or am I entertaining them? Or am I controversial? Am I saying something that the other guys don't say or other people in the industry don't say? So it doesn't matter what your industry is. These 3 things all feed into interest. So now let's talk about part 2 of this. Action. And this is really where escalation is going to come into play. Action is, what am I really asking you to do? And most of all, am I asking you to do the right things at the right time? Or am I moving you too far, too fast? And most novice marketers, or even experienced marketers who are struggling a bit right now, are asking people to do too much, too fast. In fact, what I'm finding, in my consulting, what's really interesting is a lot of the most experienced marketers I've met who came up in more traditional platforms of marketing like direct mail or newsletters or television or radio advertising are realizing that the principles of escalation that work in these types of campaigns have changed dramatically. It used to be very easy to put an ad in a magazine and have someone call in and pay $500 or $1,000. Doesn't mean you still can't do that if you have the right markets or you have the right customer. But the reality is you've got to be thinking about what is the right action at the right time. And that's going to be mission critical in your generate and your nurture phases of what we're doing here. And then the third, which we've already talked about up here, is conversion. So conversion is a sale overall. That's what we're talking about. It's just a fancy marketing word for sale. And so obviously you'll notice that action and conversion are separated here in this. That maybe the actions I'm asking you to take aren't always necessarily buy things. And in fact, the worst marketers I've seen, or the people that fail the worst, are the people who don't understand that there is a dividing line between action and conversion. Because they're doing 2 fundamentally different things. And in action, what I'm asking you to do is show me or tell me what you're interested in. I'm not necessarily saying what will you buy. That's a different conversation overall. Now, could these two things happen at a similar time in your nurture campaign or your process? They absolutely can. But the conversion part comes with, I've given you enough interest, or I know you're interested enough. You've taken action to show me that you're qualified and you're ready to be someone that works with me. And then the conversion phase should be really natural in my marketing campaigns, because I know overall that we've used escalation correctly to walk you through a process that says, yes, you're interested, yes, you know what this is all about, and yes, you're ready to buy. Now, again, there are some marketing campaigns and marketing methodologies that you can use that might skip through parts of this campaign. What I found overall in working with consultants is it just doesn't really work that way. We've got to work within these rules, and we've got to understand the marketplace, particularly depending on our demographics, who we're targeting, and how this works. So let's just use some examples of how interest action conversion works, especially if I'm looking at the most desirable audiences for a lot of products and services. If I'm looking at millennials or younger people, we'll call that the 18 to 30 generation in there, then I've really got to understand this, because what do millennials value? If I think about what's interesting to them, I'm going to think more often than not, millennials value entertainment over most other things. Doesn't mean they don't like value, but if I'm offering something that's going to help them solve a problem, whatever, chances are the person that's entertaining is going to be more appealing to the millennial than the person that's just offering straight up value. Even if I've got something that is going to really solve a problem, or we'll pretend we're competitors and you have something that's exactly the same as what I have, if I'm more willing to entertain them or focus on really these top two, then chances are I'm going to grab their attention before you are, because I'm willing to do something that you're not, which is I know what interests them, or I know what matters to them. Then when I get to the next phase, so let's assume we both get the same lead, then we have to say, what actions am I asking them to take? Again, most marketers, as I mentioned, will try to skip right to conversion. They'll say, all right, I've got their interest, that means they're ready to buy. Most of the time, that's not the truth. Most of the time, if I've got your interest, that's all it means. It means now I've got to be able to start to fish, engage with you a little bit. And what I'm doing in this process is I'm really qualifying you. I'm saying, all right, what I mean by qualification is I'm saying, first of all, will you ever buy something that's in this realm? Will you ever buy a product or service that's related to this thing? Or was it just really funny? Like when I think of great entertaining campaigns targeted at people like millennials, I think of something like Dollar Shave Club, who did hilarious videos. They had a product that's actually super valuable because it's only $1, and that's right in the name. But what hooked people was the entertainment. And then the actions they were asking you to take were to watch more funny videos or to find out more about what they did. And then they hit you with the value point afterward. That was what was interesting. Even though it's in the name and you kind of know what it was the funny videos that really hammered that in and really got them to be purchased for over $1 billion recently. So am I asking you to take the right actions at the right time? Am I asking you to buy too early, or am I asking you to buy too late? In a nurture campaign, those questions are absolutely critical, because they'll determine whether or not I ever get you to this conversion phase. So how does that work? The reality is, when I'm thinking about marketing, the best way to think about it is that it's a conversation. It's a relationship overall. And the most common cliche but overused version of this is dating. And so I'm going to use it too. It's because how I was taught marketing, and it's how most of us think about marketing. So in reality, after our first date, if I show up and I ask you to marry me right afterwards, chances are you're going to feel a little uncomfortable, a little creeped out. You're probably not going to do it. Unless you are really, like this interest phase really hooked you and you're like, all right, I got it. And for some people, maybe that's the case. If you've got customers who are so interested they'll move right to conversion, by all means, I encourage you to do it. But that's not 99.9% of businesses. So in action, I want you to think about breaking these down to commitments. So we'll say commitments. And then we'll say qualifiers. Now I know I use both of those words. So a commitment is simply, I'm willing to do something you ask me to do. So if you send me an email and ask me to click on a link, I click on that link. That's a commitment. That isn't necessarily a qualifier yet. Because if I'm just committing to you and I click on that link and then I get to that page that you sent me to, or the video or the product or whatever it is, and I only stay for 2 seconds, I go, oh, I didn't mean to click that, or it was an accident. That commitment is meaningless. It's not a qualifier. So the qualifier overall might be that I make multiple commitments to you. It might mean that when you send me to take an action, I stick with that action. So I might look at a statistic like the time someone spends on a page, or the time someone spends watching a video, or someone that actually engages in a training that I'm delivering or a free thing that I'm delivering. They actually consume what it is that I'm giving to them rather than just making a simple commitment. Now, how do we get people who don't know us really well, if we're using this dating analogy, to really move in this direction? Well, the reality is we have to have different types of commitments. We can offer you a date that is at the roller rink, or we can offer you a date that's at the movies at the roller rink. That's a very current reference, and I'm young. Nice. So we can offer you a date wherever it is that you're going, but what we have to think about is what types of commitments do we offer to our people? And in nurture campaigns, we have many different types of commitments that you have available to you. That's a big distinction and a big difference. Most of us just try to hammer away with one commitment. Let's go to the movies. No, really, let's go to the movies. No, really, let's go to the movies. And that isn't A, allowing me any space for these qualifiers, and B, a lot of times it's getting annoying. Like if I said I don't want to go to the movies, I want to go to the roller rink kids or the sock hop friends, if that's where we're going, then that's what we've got to be thinking about. So the truth is our actions have to consist of both of these things, and your commitments over time should move up in terms of value, in terms of what you're asking, and overall they should be serving as qualifiers. So again, interest, action, conversion, and then finally, what makes somebody buy? I feel when you do these things really well, when you do an interest phase really well and an action really well, and then you move people back and forth, so I'll draw little arrows here, between these two phases over and over, the conversion becomes natural. It isn't as hard to suggest the idea of buying something, solving a problem, moving those things, because I know I've seen what you're committed to, I've seen what you like, I've seen which one of these three things you respond to, I've qualified you so I know that you'll ever buy something like this because you're making multiple commitments to me. And then I'm going to offer you something that just makes sense based on what I'm putting in here. It's not something that comes out of the blue, it's not a weird 50s reference that happened to pop up in this video about sock hops. It's not like that. It's just something simple that keeps your people engaged, and that is the key to great nurture campaigns, is that we're thinking of more than just conversion, we're thinking of a lifetime of relationship with this customer. Because the truth is, even if we drive that person through to just one sale, they may never come back to us. Whereas if I'm creating a relationship, I can continue to monetize that customer over and over and over again, and that's where I talk about things like lifetime value of a customer, the most important aspects of marketing that you should be thinking about. And again, that's what we're going to cover in great detail at the Lead Generation event, October 19th, Concourse LAX. And I'm not the only cool person you're going to meet there. You're going to meet some great speakers who have made hundreds of millions of dollars combined in marketing, in the generation, the nurturing, the conversion. You're going to learn about pitches, you're going to learn about writing, you're going to learn about all these different things. And I hope to see you there again at leadgenevent.com. Get signed up, move it forward, and I hope to see you soon. Nice to meet you.